You are standing at the edge of a room full of people. Someone laughs too loudly near the drinks. Your hand drifts toward your pocket, toward your phone, toward anything that gives you a reason not to be standing there empty-handed. You tell yourself you are just not a party person, but the real answer is far stranger. That impulse is not a flaw in your wiring. It is not shyness. It is not a confidence problem you were supposed to have fixed in your 20s. What you just felt was a strategy, a very old one. It was tested, sharpened, and carried forward through an unbroken chain of bodies that stayed alive long enough to make you, and it is still running right now, in a room where absolutely nothing is hunting you. Your personality may not be who you are. It may be what worked. To see why, you have to stop thinking of personality as a description and start thinking of it as a setting, a dial. In behavioral biology, personality means something very specific, a behavioral difference between individuals that stays consistent over time and across situations. Not a mood, not a phase, a stable tilt. And here is the part most people never hear. Humans are not the only ones who have it. Fish have it. In the early 1990s, the evolutionary biologist David Sloan Wilson went out to catch pumpkin seed sunfish in a pond. He caught them two different ways. Some he caught in traps, the kind a fish has to swim into on purpose, drawn by curiosity toward a strange new object. Others he caught by dragging a net through the water, sweeping up whatever happened to be there. He expected fish. He got two kinds of personality. The trap fish were bold. They approached novelty. In the lab, they adjusted quickly, ate sooner, explored more. The net fish were shy. They hung back. They took far longer to feed in a new tank, and they avoided anything unfamiliar. Same pond, same species, same water. Two completely different ways of being a fish, sitting side by side for generations. So which one was better? That question sounds obvious. It is the question your whole life has trained you to ask. And it is the question evolution refuses to answer. Go to a forest in the Netherlands, and you can watch the answer flip in real time. The behavioral ecologist Niels Dingemanse and his colleagues spent years tracking great tits, small forest birds, in a wild population where each bird's boldness had been measured. Some birds were fast explorers. They surged into new spaces and made quick decisions. Others were slow explorers, cautious, thorough, reluctant. The researchers then did something almost no one had done before. They followed the birds through changing years and asked which personality actually survived. The answer was not one personality. It was whichever one matched the year. In seasons when the forest was rich with beech seeds and food was everywhere, one strategy paid off. In lean seasons, when food was scarce and competition turned brutal, the other did. The direction of selection reversed. The trait that got a bird killed one winter got a bird fed the next. Boldness was not an advantage. It was a bet. And the forest kept changing the odds. Now hold that thought, because it explains something about you. If one personality were truly best, evolution would have found it and erased the others. Variation would collapse. Everyone would end up the same. That is what natural selection does to traits with a single correct answer, which is why almost every human being has two eyes and one heart and the same basic hand. But personality never collapsed. It stayed spread out, wide. In 2007, a team led by the theoretical biologist Max Wolf published a model in Nature that offered a reason why. Their argument was elegant. Individuals differ in what they have to lose. An animal with a large expected future, plenty of reproduction still ahead, should protect that future by playing it safe. An animal with little to lose should gamble because caution buys it nothing. Once individuals differ in what is at stake, consistent differences in risk-taking follow automatically. Personality falls out of the math. Caution is not weakness. It is a portfolio decision, made by a body that had something worth keeping. So where does yours come from? Some of it came with you. In the 1980s, the Harvard psychologist Jerome Kagan began showing everyday objects to 4-month-old infants, mobiles, new voices, Unfamiliar smells. Nothing frightening. Nothing painful. Just novelty. Around 1 in 5 babies reacted intensely. They arched their backs, thrashed their arms, and cried. Kagan called them high reactive. Another large group barely responded at all. Low reactive. Then he waited. He followed those same children for years into adolescence. The high reactive infants were far more likely to become quiet, watchful, cautious teenagers. They noticed threat faster. They hesitated at the doors of unfamiliar rooms. Their bodies responded to the world as if it might cost something, and this was measurable long before language, long before school, long before a single thing had happened to them that anyone could call formative. But this is where the story gets misread, so be careful with it. Kagan was clear that reactivity was not destiny. Most high reactive infants did not become anxious adults. What the temperament set was a starting position, not an ending, a tilt, not a verdict. The tilt, though, is real, and it runs deep. Beginning in the 1970s, the psychologist Thomas Bouchard tracked down identical twins who had been separated as infants and raised in different families, in different homes, sometimes in different countries. Same genome, different life. When he tested them as adults, their personalities were far more alike than chance allowed. Across decades of twin research, heritability estimates for major personality traits have clustered somewhere around 40%, and sometimes higher. Not all of you, but a serious fraction. And in New Zealand, one study followed the tilt across an entire lifetime. The Dunedin study has tracked more than 1,000 people born in a single town in the early 1970s, checking in on them again and again for over 50 years. When the psychologists Avshalom Caspi and Terry Moffat examined how those children behaved at age 3, they found something unsettling. Those brief, early behavioral profiles carried predictive weight into adulthood, showing up in personality, in relationships, in health, in work, decades later. 3 years old, still detectable at 40. So if these settings are this deep, this early, and this durable, there has to be a reason they were kept. What good is anxiety? The evolutionary psychologist Daniel Nettle put the answer plainly in a 2006 paper. Take any personality trait, he argued, and you will find a genuine benefit sitting directly on top of a genuine cost. The two are inseparable. That is exactly why no trait wins outright. Consider high neuroticism, the trait behind worry and vigilance. Its cost is obvious and heavy: stress, rumination, sleepless nights. Its benefit is easy to forget. A person tuned to detect threat detects threat. They catch the sound in the dark, the shift in a friend's tone, the smell of smoke, the symptom worth checking. In a world where the false alarm cost you an anxious hour and the missed alarm cost you your life, an anxious brain is not malfunctioning. It is expensive insurance. Or extroversion. It brings allies, mates, status, information. It also brings risk. Nettle pointed out that extroverts, who go out more and take more chances, are also more likely to end up injured or hospitalized. The same social reach that fills a life can shorten it. Every trait you have is a trade. There is no free setting, and this is the twist that changes everything. The environment that selected these settings is gone. Your traits were shaped across hundreds of thousands of years in small groups, in landscapes where a wrong step could be fatal and a lost ally could be permanent. Vigilance meant survival. Reluctance to enter unfamiliar space meant survival. Sensitivity to the mood of the group, in a world where exile was a death sentence, meant survival. Now the machinery still runs, but the world it was calibrated for has vanished. The room full of strangers is not a rival band. Nobody there can exile you. The unread message is not a warning from the edge of the territory. The job interview cannot kill you, though your body clearly has not been told. Your threat detection system is still exquisitely tuned to a world of immediate physical stakes, and it is now firing at social ones that no longer end in anything worse than embarrassment. Which means the thing you have quietly labeled a personal defect may just be a survival strategy without a habitat. So what do you do with that? Not nothing. This is not a story about being stuck. Roughly half of the variation in personality is not genetic at all, and traits shift measurably across a lifetime. People generally become more emotionally stable, more conscientious, and more agreeable with age. The dial moves. It just does not start at zero, and it does not swing freely. What changes first is not the trait. It is the interpretation. There is a difference between believing you are broken and knowing you are calibrated. A broken thing needs fixing. A calibrated thing needs to be matched to the right conditions. The cautious brain that suffers in a chaotic, open-plan office is the same brain that becomes indispensable when something has to be checked properly before it ships. The vigilance that exhausts you in a group chat is the vigilance that makes you the person who notices what everyone else walked past. Your temperament is not asking to be overwritten. It is asking to be put somewhere it makes sense. The birds in that Dutch forest were never right or wrong. They were bets placed on a world that kept changing. Some years the bold ones ate. Some years the careful ones lived. The population survived because it never agreed on a single answer. You are one of those bets. So is everyone in that room. So go back there. The noise, the laughter near the drinks, your hand reaching for your phone. You are still standing at the edge of a room full of people, but you are not failing at it. You are running a strategy that outlived the world that wrote it, carried in a body that has been keeping something alive for a very long time and simply has not been told it can stand down.